Yes, please.
Thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks a lot for doing this briefing. It's helpful. I guess I wanted to ask you about the Peacekeeping Summit. It's mostly been portrayed publicly as an opportunity for European countries to belatedly increase their contributions of actual personnel to UN peacekeeping. But especially given the constitutional change and the ideas of Prime Minister Abe, do you envision Japan becoming more involved, more than just engineers and sort of support personnel in UN peacekeeping? And I also wanted to ask a question about UN. I noticed that he's going to go to meet with Japanese UN staff. Do you feel, I've previously heard that Japan feels it doesn't have either have enough representation or would like to have either more staff in the UN or at a higher level, or I know that Mr. Takasu has been here for a while as a very effective official, but are there any posts in the UN system, particularly like UNHCR, that you may be looking for a Japanese official? Thanks.
Well, before forgetting your first question, let me answer your first question first. Okay. Now we have a new security defense legislations. So your question is that what Japan can do now with the establishment of the new legislations. Well, with the new law, I have to first explain that what is the context of the new legislations. Well, today's security situations environment is getting tougher and more challenging to each nation. So threat is transboundary and easily to reach the country. So this means that no country can cope with this situation alone, namely to defend its own peace and security. Under the principle of proactive a peace with the international cooperation, Japan is determined to do more for the secure world and peace. So such a challenging and change in the security and defense situations from the perspective of Japanese life and peaceful life to be defended. We have new legislation, and now we can establish a couple of things that we could accomplish now in the context of the peacekeeping operations. Self-defense force faces the situation where the NGOs and others are facing the dangerous situations. Even if the self-defense force existing near those group of people, they couldn't rescue for those. So with the new legislation, we could accomplish this requirement. So this is just one example in the United Nations context. But I want to underline that Japan as the peace-loving nation, the path Japan has taken over the past 70 years since the end of the war will never change or sway. So we will keep maintaining the commitment to that Japan should never resort to war as a means of settling disputes. So the purpose of this new defense bill legislation is to secure the life and living of the Japanese people. So it is not designed to wage a war, but it is to defend the war. And this is for such a rainy day. The implementation of the law is under a certain strict conditions. So what I have just explained, the basic structure of the new legislation is secured under such conditionality. And the second question is...
It had to do with staffing, Japanese staffing, both at the high levels of the UN and just throughout the system.
Mm-hmm.
If there are any posts you're looking for or changes in how people can work in the UN?
Well, I don't have the exact, very exact answer to your questions, which level Japan is pursuing for. But in general speaking, Japan is one of the major contributor in financial terms and in actually a contribution to the such activities as the peacekeeping operations and so forth. So for judging from those contributions, Japan is qualified for more personnel representations in the United Nations, in various committees and so forth. So we will ask the understanding of the members of the United Nations in general, and such a Japanese fiscal and financial contributions, and proper representation be realized. So in which post, of which level will depend on situations and the timing. We will consider and discuss among ourselves and at the same time with the UN community for a most appropriate candidacy.